G'day everyone, this is Einke here. Welcome to Investor Journeys, where we chat with everyday Aussies and seasoned investors about their property journeys, the wins, the stuff ups, and everything in between. Whether they've got one property or a whole portfolio, we dive into how they did it, what they've learned, and what their journey's been like so far. No fluff, just real stories from real people. So let's get stuck in. G'day everyone, welcome to the IJ podcast. We've got a very special guest today. All the other guests that I've had previously, I've had some sort of affiliation with, but today I've got Sean with us today, who I've never met in the past, but I'm really excited to hear his story. He's reached out and said that he's, really willing to open his property journey to the listeners. So I'm sure everyone will get a bit out of it. So welcome, Sean, for coming on today, mate.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. And I'm excited to tell the story, I guess, and yeah, give some insights and hopefully inspire other people to do the same thing that me and my family's done.
Absolutely. No, really, really appreciate it. And thanks again for reaching out. I'm always on the hunt for people who's willing to share their journeys. So I really appreciate it. Do you want to give us a bit of a background? Where did you grow up? Yeah. And do you have, siblings? And did you guys all talk about money across the table?
Yeah, I guess I grew up in southwest Sydney. I grew up in the Campbelltown area. I do have siblings. I had two brothers. One brother's passed away, and I'm pretty close with the other brother. And I we grew up not talking about money. Money was not a big thing in our household. We did grow up. We grew up in housing commission, and that was sort of what inspired me to do more when I got older. I just remember always wanting to own my own property. And that was the big driver for me further down in life. But yeah, grew up west of Sydney. We had a good upbringing. We didn't have phones and we didn't have TVs everywhere. We were outside, kicking footies around, playing army in the bush. So yeah, it was a good upbringing. My partner, she was similar, but she grew up on a farm in regional New South Wales. Her name's Vanessa. She's a very big part of the property journey as well. But yeah, she grew up on a farm with brothers and sisters, and she was the same as me. She wanted to do more and always had an interest in property.
Fantastic. And so, I assume you went to school in Southwest Sydney, you grew up there. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your sort of upbringing during that school stage, and just going back as well, housing commission, growing up there, what was that like? Did you see a lot of struggles in that period of time?
Um, well, we did see struggles, but because we grew up in it, we didn't know anything different. So yeah, the community that I was in was a very caring community. But as looking back, there were a number of struggles. And there was times like there wasn't many holidays. There wasn't, you know, flashy new clothes and all of that sort of stuff. There was plenty of toys, I remember as a kid, which was good.
Mm.
But yeah, definitely some struggles. I grew up, went to school at just your normal primary school, went through high school, went to year 12. I did repeat one subject for year 12. So, for some reason, one of the teachers I had failed me for English, and I had to go to school for one extra year just for English. Um, but nevertheless, I I was committed to achieving that year 12 certificate. Um, the my friends and everything, we played a lot of sports, played a lot of football growing up, played even made it to the West Juniors, Western Suburbs Juniors, played Harold Matthews. But then, yeah, because of sort of where I was, the people I was growing up with, that didn't really work out too well. But yeah, I was just proud to actually finish the school. and yeah, move on to work after that.
Yeah, fantastic. So you've you've met your wife now wife Vanessa. You told me off air that you're currently in Canberra. When did that shift happen?
That happened. So I met my partner at in Griffith, actually in New South Wales. I had moved out there for work. I relocated for work, and that was back in 2015. And I went to the local zoo there with my son, and Vanessa was the zookeeper who was doing the tours, and we got talking. And I turned to my son after the tour, and I said to him, "Should I ask Vanessa for her phone number?" And my son, being 7 years old, he said, "Yeah, Dad, go for it." And I still reckon if it wasn't for him, I would never have gotten the courage to ask her for her phone number. But yeah, so we started talking, and then we ended up having a child ourselves. Her name's Bella, and then moved to Canberra. It was 2017, and yeah, been in Canberra ever since. So it's good down here. It's cold. It's very cold at the moment, but we like living here. It's not too big. It's not too small. Yeah.
What a journey! Yeah, that would have been an interesting little situation at the zoo there. I'm sure your son will take all the credit for that in the future years. But now you're in Canberra. You and Vanessa seem like you guys are on the same page. You were saying so. Do you want to tell us a bit about what got you thinking about property at that stage and what your first purchase was like?
Yeah, well, we when we after we met, it was we and talking and things like that. It was clear that we both had similar goals. So we both owned a property each. Previous to me moving to Griffith, I lived in Orange, and I purchased a townhouse in Orange in 2014. And Vanessa was living in Young in New South Wales, and she purchased her property in 2012. And we got together, and I think Vanessa's goal was to have 5 properties, and that was my goal as well. Um, and she had really good mentors, and she was uh, yeah, she had really good mentors who had already told her what she could do with property and renovating, and always admire her because the first property was in 2012 that Vanessa had purchased, uh, and it was a fixer upper. And she purchased it and she renovated, done a cosmetic renovation on the property, and we ended up using that property, released equity to purchase our third property together. So really, Vanessa's the brains behind all of it, especially with that, identifying a property to fix up, create value, and move on from there. Myself,
Was that second property, or was that property that she bought in Orange as well?
the property that Vanessa bought was in Young,
Oh yeah.
and I was living in Orange at the same time. Uh, and that was at 2014. I bought my property. I was actually renting the property, uh, and I received a letter in the mail from a real estate agent saying they were going to sell the property, and I had some money saved up. Always knew that I was going to purchase property in Orange, and I rang them up and said, "Look, I'll buy the property if the price is right." And we negotiated a good price on it, and yeah, I bought the townhouse in Orange. So that was basically the 2 properties. I had one, Vanessa had one, and then we met, and we continued on from there.
Yep, got it. Yep, very brave of renovating and flipping the property. I mean, especially right off the bat as well. How did that renovation go? I assume it did okay, and the renovation came in on budget at that time.
Yeah, I wasn't involved in it. But yeah, Vanessa done very well. She didn't put plantation shutters in. I think she purchased the property for 161,000. Believe it or not, that's quite a long time ago now. You
Yeah.
don't really get those prices anymore.
Yeah.
And she traded about, I think, she might have got it revalued at 220K, and that um helped her further down the line.
Yeah, fantastic. So you guys have one each there, and then you're looking at your third property, did you say?
Yeah, well, when we got together in Griffith, and we decided very quickly that we would move in together. We were both renting at the time, so we had they were our investment properties.
Yep.
And we were, I guess you could say, rent investors. Or it wasn't a term back then. We were just renting.
Yes.
Um, and it was quickly we established that we needed to move in together because we were going to have a baby. And we decided that, yeah, we just go all in and buy the third property. So we purchased a 4 by 1 property in Griffith. It was on 700 square meter land, and yeah, moved into that. So I guess with our properties and further down the track, we have lived in our houses before they became investment properties. Um, and we knew that we wanted to be property investors, but we weren't the typical, let's like live in a PPOR and then get investment properties. We knew that we were moving around. Vanessa had moved from country New South Wales to Young, and then to Griffith, and I'd gone from Orange to Griffith. Uh, so yeah, we lived in that one for about a year and a half, and then that's when we moved to Canberra.
Yeah, got it. I mean, look, the regional New South Wales had done pretty well, I suppose, over the next few years, and no doubt those properties, would have done okay. In hindsight, would you have done anything different, knowing what you know now?
Wouldn't have done anything different because we have, we've achieved quite a lot. I guess the only thing looking back, we did, we did jump straight into the purchases, and we didn't do overly a lot of research. There wasn't podcasts back
Yeah.
then. All we knew is that if we would live in the property, then somebody else would live in the property as well. Because we didn't have high standards, but we didn't like have really low standards either. So that was our theory. If we would live in it, then someone else would live in it. Uh, and I think with the property in Orange, I was a little bit skeptical of that because it is a townhouse. It's in a complex of 20 townhouses, and I bought it for 222,000, but it sold for 225,000 7 years earlier.
Yeah, got it.
So yeah, I was a little bit skeptical because the potential lack of growth. But fast forward 10 years, it had more than doubled.
Yeah. Well, what's
Uh,
it worth? What are the three properties worth now?
So the property in Young we purchased 161, and that's now valued at approximately 370 to 400.
Very good.
The housing, the townhouse in Orange, 220 to 500, and it's valued at approximately 520K. But we have recently done a renovation on that one as well.
Yep.
And then in Griffith, we purchased the property for 300, and that was 2016, and it valued now between 6 to 650.
That's
Um,
done pretty well. Yeah, and not to mention, I mean, I'm sure some of the listeners are listening to these numbers thinking, where in the world can we buy those sort of prices now? But second of all, I'm sure the rents are doing fairly well, being a regional and what's happened over COVID and everything like that. The rents are no doubt the properties are washing its face in terms of the rent and the mortgage.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. The rental on the Clifton in Young, it's $320 a week. We've had the same tenant forever. We happy to sort of not meet the market rate on that. Same as in Griffith, we've had the same tenant for the last 6 years. Really good tenant, look after the place. We fix everything the moment, that anything comes up. That's renting at 455. Uh, and then the place in Orange, which the one that I was skeptical about, has done really well. It currently rents at 520 a week, and that's on a purchase of
Yeah,
$222,000. So I think the yield on that,
12,
um,
13%, something like that.
yeah,
Mm.
12%. The rental yield on the young one's 10%, and Griffiths at 8%. So they those three pretty well look after themselves. Even with the interest rate rises, they still do pretty well. And with the tenants in place, so yeah, we don't have much too much going on with them.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that rental, I could, guess that those would be doing very well for you guys, and those values are creeping up as per usual, and no doubt will still do well. I know those areas pretty well too. So that's, you've done obviously great so far. You've got 3 properties under your belt, and it's amazing that you've got both had the notion of having 5 properties in your sort of mindset there of what you wanted to achieve. So uh, your fourth one, was that whilst you were still in Griffith, or had you moved to Canberra by that time?
So we moved to Canberra, and we done the whole rent thing again. It helped because work like offered relocations as well. So we'd move towns, and then yeah, rent for a period of time. And then I think we were in Canberra for a year and a half, and then in 2019 we'd saved up more deposit. And we decided to go again, but I always wanted to build a home, like build a home on land. Uh, Vanessa was the smart one who said that we should buy a an established home. But I wanted to build. I'd always wanted to build a home. It was my dream that I'd build my own home. So we in 2019 we purchased a block of land and put a house on it. And that was back then, again, like you think about the prices now, but back then we paid $536,000 for a 3 bed, 2 bath. Um, and today we would be valued at about 860 to 900. And that was just prior to COVID. And we all know how the property market went after COVID. So.
You couldn't have timed it better, I think. Canberra really shot its lights out during that time and in COVID time. Was that 536 for the house and land?
Yeah, yeah.
Amazing. So you not only met the market cycle for the Canberra, cycle, and you've just got in before the construction costs went bananas. So you couldn't have timed it better.
Well, it's funny that because the next property that we're going to, yeah, it's a it was a bit of a journey that we went on with that one. But yeah, the current, because now that we lived in that for about a year, and then we actually built a second house in Canberra. Um, but the one that we built, we currently rent out for $680 a week. And it's got a rental yield of about 7%. The only caveat is there is the land tax in Canberra, and that is it just keeps growing every year. Last quarter it was $900 a quarter. But the rental income does, yeah, somewhat cover it.
Yeah, I mean, I know Canberra is land tax does sting. For a number of investors who don't know much about it, where land tax is, there's no threshold in Canberra, is there, for the land tax?
No, I'm not entirely sure how it works, mm, but yeah, so it's not cheap.
Yeah, no, it's not. You've got to factor all that in. But look, again, you've got in. You said it 1 year later, where that again is before you hit the market growth and the construction costs and all that. So, and no doubt you're probably getting a pretty decent depreciation out of that investment property as well, which would probably cover stuff like the land tax and all that kind of thing eventually. So that's your fifth property. Or is that 5 properties including your PPL? You've got another one.
That's so that was our fourth,
Yeah, fourth investment, got it. Yes.
and yes, and then a year later, I think we were living in the property for 6 months, and we decided that my mum was going to come live with us in Canberra, and that we would potentially need to purchase another property, and it was a little bit of a stretch because our borrowing capacity was pretty limited by then. Um, but we managed to go again in 2019 into 2020, no, 2020 into 2021, and we purchased another block of land to build another house, and this was a dual living house, so that my mum could come live with us as well. And that was a very big journey. So we did take a lot of risks, especially with the financing. Uh, and we built, we started building just as COVID was was coming on, uh, and we completed the build just as the construction industry had stopped. So we were extremely lucky. Yeah, everyone had stopped. Everyone had been shut down. The house was maybe nearly 3/4 of the way through, and we just managed to complete that before like all the building costs skyrocketed. The builder did. We built both houses with the same builder. He was pretty open with it about the costs that he had to absorb to get the build finished. Uh, but yeah, we managed to get through it. It was very difficult. It was very risky. There's still on the street that we built on, there is still one block of land that didn't get through, and it's still for sale. And I think that we timed it quite well to get through. And we purchased that property for it was 860,000. But then there was some site costs that we didn't foresee that Vanessa did foresee and warned me about. But we went ahead anyway. There was a bit of rock removal that needed to be done, and that added an extra 39,000 to the purchase.
Right. So all up, how much did you go in?
Uh, all up, I all up 940,
Yeah.
and nowadays, fast forward for 5 years, it's valued at between 1.37 and 1.45. It's a really nice home. I said my mum loves it as well. She lives in part of the house, and she definitely keeps her part much nicer than ours. Always, I love going to visit her because she's got such a lovely part.
Well, it's amazing you'll be able to do that for your mum. I mean, that's very, very impressive and very generous. I can't imagine going through a build, let alone 3 builds. That would have been, I'm sure you would have learnt a lot of things that's probably don't have time for this podcast. But if you had to pick a number one thing you learned through that build process, do you have one item there you can share?
I guess through the build process, the biggest thing I learned was a building contract isn't set in stone, and there will always be extra costs on top of that. Um, so yeah, that's probably the biggest thing that I could yeah, let people know is that if you've got a building contract, probably add another 5-10% onto that because there's going to be more cost.
I would say these days at least 10%. I'm from a construction industry, and you've always got to have your buffers in place when you're building. Building isn't for everyone. Obviously, as your own home, it's a completely different story. It's an emotional purchase, and some builders are different to others, and I've heard many stories, some good, some bad. And the figure that's on the paper when you sign is more than likely going to change as you go through that process. So don't be fooled by that figure. I completely agree with you, Sean. So now you've got your five properties, or essentially five and a half there, plus your PBR. What's your total value of your portfolio?
Total value, where I've got it valued at between 3.7 and 4.
3 points in the full. Yeah.
I try to keep it a bit conservative because I do have aspirations um, to leave my career at some point. And if I can keep the figures sort of conservative, it gives me more of a realistic expectation. And it's got an LVR of approximately 50%.
Okay. Yep.
So we do have a fair amount of equity, anywhere from 1.8 to 2.1.
Yep. So for those listeners who don't know what an LVR is, it's a loan to value ratio. So that's essentially the debt versus the value. So yeah, Sean's carrying about half debt, and the rest of that half is in equity. So that's great news.
Yeah, it's a good position to be in. And we've always everything we pay is a P&I as well. There's a few reasons for it. The main reason is in it evident over the last 3 years. I wasn't comfortable being on an interest only loan and not having any of the principal paid off because over the last 3 years, as an example, there's been little growth in the portfolio, and to be able to pay the principal off as well gives us more of a buffer if something was to, go wrong.
Mm.
Uh, so yeah, everything's paid a P&I.
And have you had any sort of, has that impact of the interest rate rises through that COVID period affected you at all? Being all P&I would assume the New South Wales properties wouldn't be hit as bad given the debt value on those are quite low, but on your Canberra properties?
It it yeah, it did have a big impact. I think our costs went up by $30,000. Yeah, $30,000 in the last 2 financial periods. But the rent absorbed a lot of it. We did have buffers in place to ensure that we'd be okay.
Yep, offsets. Hmm.
Yeah, we during the COVID period, we did save a lot of money. Uh, and I think the Canberra property at the moment, it's negative geared maybe $5,000 to $10,000. So the impact there was an impact. Being The impact was we went from being positive cash flow of about $20,000 a year to being negative cash flow between 5 and 10. Uh, So it didn't put us into a position where we'd have to sell or anything like that.
Yeah, I think you're quite right. I think a lot of people saved a lot of money during that time, and that's what saved a lot of people. I think that the amount of defaults on mortgages was very low during those big interest rate hikes, and that was a lot to do with the savings amount or the amount that people were able to pay in advance off the loans as well, which reduced their debt levels. So yeah, COVID was not a bad thing for in that sense. So okay, so you've got your value there at about let's just say $4 million. What's next for you at the moment?
Well, every Vanessa gets frustrated with me all the time because I'm always looking at property and I always say, well, maybe we should buy another one. Or maybe we should, do this. And Vanessa said 2 nights ago she'd love to buy another property and do it up. Uh, we did recently complete a renovation on the property in Orange. Uh, and that was a good experience. We done a full renovation on a new bathroom, new kitchen. Uh, and it was so good to go back there and see the property when it was complete. It looks just totally different.
When you were living there? Yeah, I can imagine. Would have brought back some memories, I'm sure.
Yeah, and I took my mum up there and my son. My son wasn't so interested. He didn't really care much. But my mum, I think my mum said to me, she asked if she could just go live in Orange. But yeah, that was good. It was good experience to get that sort of renovation. So we are interested in potentially doing more renovations on the properties we have, even purchasing again. But over the last 2 years, 1.5 to 2 years, we've been focusing on the whole cash flow aspects of our situation because want to at some point, just be able to not work as much as what we work. So we've pivoted a little bit to shares and ETFs and things like that. So I consider where I'm putting a lot of money into the stock market, which I consider as a like yeah another form of like property sort of thing, as opposed to putting the money into another property. But yeah, we just dream about buying another property every day.
I think after going to 3 builds, 2 renos, I can't see how you would think any other way, to be honest. You guys have done a lot when it comes to, uplifting value, whether to be it through a build or reno. So I would be the same in terms of having itchy fingers. But no, look, I understand about the shares in property. I mean, the fact that you've got diversified asset classes there is great. You've obviously got access to those funds as well. It's not like property where you got to. It takes months and months to get access to that. And no doubt you've probably done okay over the shares recently. Now, we've obviously been talking off the cuff in terms of potential next moves in your career. And, at the moment, you've been in retail for a period of time, and you're looking to potentially look into buyer's agency. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that? You've obviously got the experience now.
Yeah, well, I always think about what would be next, and you know what other things I could do. I've got a very good career that's very stable, and I think I do a good job. Uh, my boss says I do a good job
So it's
sometimes,
important.
and I've always looked at that buyer's agent space, and I've I've helped people in the past as well, with property and there's just that passion for it. Um, and trying to help other people see that they can do the same thing as me because I'm just an ordinary person. Vanessa's ordinary people. We work in retail. We don't have fancy, we're not, we don't have fancy jobs. And with some hard work and active saving, we believe anybody can do it. And I'd love to be able to one day sort of show people that they can do it as well. That's why I have respect for someone like yourself, who's doing that now. And I've listened to some of the previous episodes, and it's clear that you've got a passion to help people.
Yeah, I think, well, in terms of your journey, which I've learned, so far, I've been very, very impressed with your ethics, you being able to help your mum, create a better future, not just for yourself, but for your kids as well. And just as you say, you're sort of, you're classing yourself as ordinary people, but you've done extraordinary things. Having 5 properties in the investment space is a very rare thing. I think you can probably fit the amount of Australians who've just got 3 or more in a stadium in terms of property investors. So you're certainly in an elite class, and I've got no doubt that you can achieve what you want to achieve if you start to get in that buyer's agency space. So let me know if you get into that space, mate, and I'm more than happy to share that with people out there to get you going. And I'm sure you'll do really well if you decide to go down that path. You can bring your learnings that you've obviously gone through in the last 10, 15, 20 odd years to that as well. So wish you all the best with that kind of journey.
Yeah, no, thank you. It's yeah, it's great. It's good.
Fantastic. Well, thanks, Sean, for sharing your journey. I really appreciate it. We'll shout out to Vanessa as well. Seems like she was very instrumental in making the decisions and obviously formed a big part of that portfolio herself. So hopefully she'll enjoy this episode. But again, thanks for coming on. Obviously, we didn't know each other like we said, but I really appreciate you sharing your journey because I'm sure the listeners will get a lot out of it. So thanks for coming on.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thanks for having me. And um, yeah, appreciate being on the show.
No worries. We'll have to get an update at some stage with all these properties that you got. So, we'll get you on again at some stage.
Yeah, it'd be great. Well, thank you.
No problem. Thanks everyone for joining in, and we'll catch you on the next one. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed the chat, feel free to drop us a rating on Spotify or wherever you listen. It helps us reach more listeners to help them with their journey. Catch you in the next episode.